Hi guys. Okay, at this point the sub has passed out a paper to you for your first video lesson. Sorry I'm not able to be there, but I hope you guys are having a good Friday and you have a good weekend. Okay, we're going to talk about factoring. Stuff that you've had in the past, but let's refresh your memory because you need to know this for where we're going. Okay, so on the paper, look at your examples. You have 10x to the third power plus 6x. Factoring is pulling out something that both terms have in common in order to get to a lower degree. Okay, so if you're looking at both of these, you're going to try to think of what number or variable that both terms have. Okay, so hopefully you're seeing that it has a 2 in common. They also have an x. I'm going to pull that 2x out and work this like a backward distributive property. And you need the two terms put inside that are going to let it multiply with that 2x to get back to where we started from. Okay, so 2x has to multiply with a 5 to get to that 10. We have 1x here, but I need to get back to x to the third power. I need 2 more x's, so x squared. Okay, the plus goes back in between, and in the next term we're missing a 3 because 2x times 3 will get me right back to that 6x. Okay, and if you're not sure, multiply it back like a distributive property. It's a good way of checking your work. Okay? All right. The second one that's on your paper, 2v squared minus 50. If you look at both of these terms and start thinking, what do they share? What do they have in common? I'm hoping that you see they have a 2. Okay, so we're going to pull out that 2. That is all that I'm seeing. Oh, no, it's not. I take that back. I have to go back through, and I messed up when I wrote that problem, didn't I? We need to get to a v here. I left that v off. Okay, so let's try that again. They both are sharing a 2. Okay, and they both are sharing a v. So if I pull that out, I'm going to see that we need another v to get that v squared on the first term, and that 2 needs to multiply with a 25 in order to get to 50v. Okay, we good on that one? All right, very good. Okay, now this third one. If you look at it, you probably went, oh, no way, not even trying it. I think we'll just leave that for when Miss Yaracs gets back. Well, the video lesson means I am already here. You can't skip over it, so let's just do it together, okay? If you look at all three of these terms, 15, the 9, the 3, look at this, just the coefficients in the front. All right, I'm hoping that you see that they each share a 3, okay? I'm going to take one term at a time, and then we'll put it all together. So if I pull out a 3 on this first one, and based on the other ones, you should be seeing that they all share a 3x to the nth power. Okay, so now, just on the first term, I know I need a 5. 5 is going to let me multiply the 3 and get to 15. X to the nth power, you're probably looking at this and saying it needs another x. Okay, but that's not the case. It actually needs x to the nth power. Okay, remember, you keep the base, you add your exponents. That's how you get x to the 2nth power. All right, the second one, I'm going to keep the 3x to the nth power. I'm going to pull that out. I'm missing that 3, but I need an x to the first power. On the last one, I'm pulling out the 3x to the nth power, and it needs to multiply with a 1. Okay? All right, now, I know that this fabulous thing right here has just probably rocked your world, that you're not quite getting at. So let me explain this just a little bit. Okay? If I had, let me just say, if I had a 4x to the second power times a 3x to the third power, you tell me that that's a 12x to the fifth power. You kept the numbers multiplied, the x's added together, the exponents added together. Okay, so that's no different than what we're showing up here in this piece. Okay, x to the nth and x to the nth is x to the 2nth. There are two of those. Okay, they are not multiplying. You add the exponents. So don't let that one confuse you. That's a hard one. Okay, so if you were a little bit stunned by that one, don't start worrying that you know that you can't do this. It's going to be just fine. Okay, so now this one isn't done yet, okay? Now we got to take all these pieces that we had, we got to pull it all together, okay? So now we pulled out of all these terms, if you go back up top, you see I pulled out a 3xn, a 3x to the nth power, 3x to the nth power. So that's the one term that they all shared. It comes out. Now I got to create a really massive long parentheses and put all these little pieces back in. So we had a 5x to the nth power plus a 3x to the first power minus a 1. Okay, that one is done. And you got to admit, I outdid myself totally on that one. I knew you guys would love that one. I made it just for you guys. That's my Friday, happy Friday problem. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, on the next one. Now, we are taking out, every time you go to factor these, okay, you're going to always, the first thing you're going to think of is what can I pull out of this to make it smaller, to make it easier to work with. If you're looking at this one, you should be seeing that the 3 could come out of all three of those terms out of this trinomial. Okay, so in my parentheses, I have left a w squared minus a 10w plus a 25. Okay, now there's more that you can do to break down that parentheses now. Okay, now we're going to go back and do a backward FOIL, okay, where we have a w and a w in the front part. That's going to create that w squared. And now we're looking at two numbers that can multiply together to get 25, but yet can add to get a negative 10. Okay, so you're probably already seeing a 5 and a 5, but if I leave them positive, that's not going to get that negative 10. So they both have to be negative to create that middle term of negative 10w. Okay, you guys are doing great so far. All right, look at the next one. 9r squared, we have a 30r and a 24. What can come out of all three of these terms? Okay, I hear some of you guys are saying it already. I hear a 3. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull a 3 out. That's all they have in common, okay? So now, I'm going to put a 3r squared here plus a 10r plus an 8. Okay, so now, there's more breaking down that can go on inside that parentheses. But now I have a number in front of that r squared, so it's a little bit tougher. All right, now when I do my factoring, I use a method called slide and divide. Some of you guys might have learned it from what I realized from my period 4 class yesterday. Some of you guys may never have learned it that way. Okay, this is how I teach it. If you have another way of doing factoring and it works for you, that's great. I happen to think slide and divide works a little bit easier. So let me tell you how I do it, okay? Okay, the first thing I do is I take this 3 and I'm going to slide it over here. When I bring that 3 over, it's going to multiply. It's going to come over here and multiply with that 8. Okay, so the 3 on the outside is there. You just don't forget about that. That's really important, okay? So then my front term becomes an r squared. The middle term, there is no change whatsoever. And the last term becomes a 24. Okay, so now I keep the 3 on the outside, and I'm going to break the inside down to an r with an r. And I'm looking for two numbers that multiply for 24, but yet get a 10. Okay? So hopefully you're seeing a 6 and a 4 working in there. So I could put a plus 6 and a plus 4. Okay, now, here's the slide and divide part where it gets tricky and everybody forgets. Because I made this number, this 24, because I made that 24 3 times bigger, I have to remember to go back and take these answers and make them 3 times smaller. So I go through, and on each of these, I have to divide now by 3. Okay, now that's getting a little messy for you guys, and you see these fractions and you start wigging out. Okay, you clean up what you can. That 3 still hasn't left this problem. I have r plus 2 on my first set of parentheses. Now, this one can't reduce. It's not pretty. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just bring that 3 back up to the front of the r. It's coming up in front of that. Okay, and then I have my 4 there. Okay, now if you look carefully like that, at any point, if I wanted to go back and FOIL this, I would be able to multiply everything I have and get back to that original polynomial that I had way up here. Alright guys, that's the end of that one, and not much more torture. One more to go, okay? Okay, let's look at this last one that I have on this for this section, okay? If you look at all 3 of the terms, I don't see anything that can come out of any of it. Okay, so I'm going to take that 6 that's up here in the front, and I'm going to slide it over here. And when it comes over, I'm going to multiply it. Okay, so that 12 is going to multiply with that 6. So my front term, x squared, y squared, is still there. The middle term, still there. Nothing's changed. Okay, 6, when it multiplies with that negative 12, becomes negative 72. Now, because there's nothing in front of that first term, it's really easy for me to break this one down. Okay, so put your 2 sets of parentheses. I know that this xy would multiply with an xy to get that x squared, y squared. Okay, 2 numbers that multiply for 72, but when they add or subtract, they're going to get me a negative 1 because that's really what's up in that middle term. So I went ahead and just stuck that negative 1 in there so you would see it. Okay, so now I'm looking for 2 numbers, okay, 9 and 8, if I look at multiples of 72. And sometimes if you can't think of them, it's helpful if you just start 1, 72, 2, what do we get? 30, 36, you know, 3 could go into it, 4, and you just keep going down. You know, 3 would be 2, and a 4. 4 could go into it. Okay, 5 isn't going to work. 6 could go into it. 7's not going to work. 8 goes into it with a 9. Okay, if I tried that 6, it would be 6 and 12. 4 would go into it, let's see, 1 time and another 8. Okay, so if I'm looking at combinations, that 8 and 9 are going to subtract to create that negative 1. So I know I need a minus 9 and I need a plus 8. Okay, now, because I made that number that used to be a negative 12 up here, I made it a negative 72. I made it 6 times bigger. I have to go back and divide the answer by 6. Okay, so now I have to reduce that fraction. We never leave a fraction if it can be reduced. So I have xy minus, dividing by 3, so it would be 3 over 2. And the other one, xy plus, dividing by 2 would be 4/3. Okay, so I don't want to leave those fractions in there, and if I tried to FOIL what I have right now, it would never get me back to that 6x squared y squared at the top. Okay, so I take that 2 and I bring it to the front, so it's going to be 2xy minus 3, and in the other set of parentheses, it's going to be 3xy plus 4. Okay, try foiling that one back, and you'll be able to see very quickly that you'll get back to the original polynomial. Okay, at this point, we're going to go ahead and get to the next video lesson, taking factoring just a little bit further. Okay, give you a breather, and I'll let the sub go ahead and find the next video. Thanks for hanging in there, guys. Bye.